Welcome to Talking Bengals, a Bengals site made by the fans for the fans. Check out Talking Bengals on iTunes, Google Play, Buzzsprout, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Now, let's start the conversation. Hello and welcome to Talking Bengals, episode 17. It's going to be a good one this week. 1 week out of the draft, we got some big news coming on player signings, as well as, just some fun facts getting into the 50th season reflection. We're going to talk about a few things and start a new series with that. But first, Nick, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. How about yourself? I know I'm feeling pretty old. What do you think?
Well, I think we're both getting old and starting to fall apart. You can't even handle one softball game anymore. So, geez, starting to show your age.
Oh, you know it, man. One softball game and your back feels like it's going to fall off.
Yeah, you just don't quite heal like you used to. That's what I figured out. Stuff you used to be able to do and it was no big deal. Now you do it and you can't walk for 2 days. But anyways, getting into this week's episode for the stuff the fans actually want to hear about. Say signings this week. The big one I'm actually shocked about, the first round pick is already signed. John Ross signs a Bengals a 4-year deal with a 1-year option for a 5th season. So I think that was a good news for him to be signed already. It's usually those first round draft picks like to hold out and, wait and get that huge money. But that just shows to me he has some maturity. He wants to get in there. He wants to play football. He wants to be part of some success. Nick, what do you think?
I think it shows something that's great for the Bengals, to be quite honest with you. You got John Ross, who obviously we picked in the first round. The management and higher-ups think that he's obviously a good enough football player to sign in the first round. And to get him to sign so quickly shows that he is intent on playing for the Bengals and that he likes what the Bengals have. And I think that it's going to be exciting to see John Ross on the other side of the ball from A.J. Green to split up the defensive backfield. That way we don't have A.J. Green getting, double and triple covered because they know that Andy's going to throw it to him.
See, I think it was definitely it's good to see him sign early. I hate when they have holdouts. It's been years and years ago, but I remember, like some of their players they've had have been holdouts, don't sign until right before training camp, or other NFL teams have a problem with guys don't sign until the second or third week of the season. To me, you pretty much wasted a draft pick at that point because they're not doing any of the workouts with the team. They're not doing the things that they need to do to prepare for the season. So you can almost already call them a draft bust because they're not going to be nearly as good as they should be going to their first season because all they did was whine and complain and say, I want money, even though I've never proven myself in the NFL. But right now, the Bengals are looking good with their picks. Another pick signed, Carl Lawson, the guy out of Auburn, decided to sign with them already, so that's good. So what are your thoughts, Nick?
Again, I think it's a good thing that, Lawson is signed already. Like you were saying with Ross, he's getting his head out of his backside. He knows he hasn't proven himself in the NFL. With, I guess that'd be the right way. I don't know. Grammar Nazi over here. Lawson knows as well as Ross that they haven't proven themselves in the NFL yet, and they have to prove that they can play and that they can perform. They know that they haven't done that yet. So what they're doing is they're getting the contract out of the way so that way they can focus on getting ready for the season. I think it's great, and I think I was reading something about Marvin Lewis talking about John Ross, saying that he was excited that John Ross is signed so quickly. Goes to show that he wants the important stuff out of the way so that way he can get focused on not only getting ready for football, but, finishing up his education. Education is one of those words in college sports that you don't really hear too much about anymore. With basketball, you hear the one and dones, and you don't really hear too much about college baseball anymore. But and then football, you're looking at you have to do a mandatory, stint in college football before you can even get drafted. And just showing that John Ross wants to finish out his, college and get his education completed, I think that shows at least a dedication to something that's important. So I don't know. I'm becoming more and more optimistic about John Ross. And Carl Lawson, he played for Auburn, so he can't be a bad linebacker. If you play for Auburn, you're gonna you're going to have a good defense. So I think the Lawson signing is a great thing.
Well, just to correct myself just a little bit there, defensive end / he played a little bit of linebacker with Lawson. But, yeah, it shows maturity, I think, by these rookie players. And, I mean, especially wanting to go back to school, wanting to do those kind of things. But signing quickly, you're not all about the money. And that's good. I mean, when you're a rookie, you shouldn't be all about the money. And I understand, your NFL career is usually fairly short. You need to make that money, I guess, while you can. But you got to have something to prove. And, I mean, that's what they're talked about with, Zeitler, end of a rookie contract, and you got to make your money now. And that makes sense, I guess, after your rookie contract's up. You've proven you're a good player. It's time to make your money. But moving on, talking about another rookie and his big news for the week, Joe Mixon did a press conference about why he selected the number 28. I'll let you lead off, and then I'll take over with my thoughts.
The only reason you picked this darn topic is because of number 28. And I'm just going to say a little inside joke between you and I. You're a DA, dude. I mean, 28. The only reason he picked it is because there's not another number that he liked. But, of course, it's your number, 28, blah, blah, blah. Going into addressing the media as well. I mean, he finally comes out and addresses the media, showing that he's ready to play football and try to show that he's grown up. What we talked about last week with him being young and dumb. Hopefully that was the case. Young and dumb, and he's grown up, he's matured, and he's ready to just be an adult and not Pac-Man the rest of his career. But I mean, hopefully it pans out for him. Obviously, Mixon was the best running back in the entire draft. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But 28, dude.
Man, you're hating on the Dos Ocho there. I'm telling you, we got Ocho Cinco, now we got Dos Ocho. Hopefully he holds up to that great number, because one of the probably, I don't even know the best way to put it. In my mind, one of the least premier athletes, but wore it for a long time, was 28. Yours truly. So that number is just near and dear to my heart. But I thought he did really well. I mean, he's done press conferences already, but he's been coached up pretty well through the press conferences. This was the first interview I saw where it was just him and the media as he was sitting in his locker. He answered questions well. Somebody, brought up the thing that Mike Brown had released a letter to the Inquirer, saying why they like Mixon, how they accepted him. And he was honest. He had not yet read it, but he was very appreciative of the nice comments that were made about him. And, he seems like he's here to work. I did not see a guy who was overly, swag, I guess would be the best way to put it. He didn't think he was better than anybody. He seemed like he was there to work, and he said the right things. He wanted to focus on football, be a contributor for the team, learn the playbook, which is good. That's what he needs to do. The last thing he needs is any negative attention from the media or any, saying the wrong thing. It's just going to set the fan base off, make people around Cincinnati mad. So I'll give him credit. He didn't do too bad. I mean, I think everything is going to turn around for him now that he picked 28. I think it's all going to turn around. He's going to have a great career just purely because he's wearing the number 28. But moving on to a move I wasn't very happy about this week, I don't think, and that was the Bengals pick up the fifth-year option on Darqueze Dennard, who was one of the many first-round draft picks that for the Bengals that was a cornerback and just never really seemed to pan out. I mean, I've hated on Drake Kirkpatrick over the years, but he's at least gotten somewhat better. But Dennard's barely seen the field. So you pick up his option, I guess, because why not give him another year? But it's just really sad in my mind that, we draft this guy in the first round, and he barely contributed anything. There's not even enough stats to say, well, he did this, that, or whatever. It's just sad. If you tried to name stats right now, it'd just make him sound even more pathetic than I'm trying to make him sound now. But, I mean, he's the third cornerback on this team, possibly the fourth. I mean, it goes Drake Kirkpatrick. I know we don't like him, but Adam Jones. And then if William Jackson III actually comes out and is healthy and plays well, then that's your number 3. So where does that leave Darqueze Dennard? Sitting there for dime packages, I guess? So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this. Nick, what do you got?
I'm just going to concur with what you said. I just don't like him. He's I don't know how to say it. I'd say non-issue. Somebody who really just doesn't fit. And with the program, with what we got, quite frankly, I just I just don't know why we re-signed him. I mean, unless you want to elaborate more, I mean, like I said, man, he's not an issue. I don't really even want to talk about him. I don't want to give any free airtime on him anyway.
We may touch on him a little bit later in the show during Roasted or Boasted, but for now, let's get into our new series that we're going to be probably running until at least the start of the season. And that is, with this being the 50th season, we're going to reflect on a player each week. We're going to try to avoid the obvious superstars, your AJ Green, Chad Ochocinco's, Anthony Munoz, those kind of guys we're going to avoid. And talk about a few more blue-collar players, guys who had good success with the Bengals, may not have been long-term, may have been long-term. But while they were with the Bengals, they did some great things. And this week we're going to touch on Ashley Ambrose. Nick?
I mean, I don't know why we didn't keep him for longer, but I mean, while he was with the Bengals, he was a Pro Bowl selection in '96 and AFC Defensive Back of the Year while he was playing for us. I mean, I really don't see why we didn't keep him. Obviously, he fit well with the defensive scheme, and he worked out well for the Bengals. I think the mid-'90s really showed how bad Bengals ownership really was, and that they needed to change at least something. Ashley Ambrose was – I think he was great. I thought he was a great back. So, I mean, you're looking at somebody who came out of Mississippi Valley State in the second round in the '92 draft. I mean, he went to Indianapolis, and I mean, great defensive back. I mean, he just wasn't talked about enough. I don't know, Casey. You got anything else?
Like you mentioned, '96 was his first year with the Bengals, and that was by far his best season. I mean, he ended up with 54 tackles, 8 interceptions, 1 touchdown. I mean, that's a big year for a cornerback. I mean, 8 interceptions is just a huge year. I remember he was actually a Pro Bowler that year and had an interception for a touchdown in the Pro Bowl. So, I mean, he was just a good sign for the Bengals. I mean, he's the first guy I remember as a cornerback, for me at least, growing up, that was just like, wow, he can intercept the ball, he can run, he can tackle, he can score touchdowns. So he made me excited about the defense. Usually I was just always an offensive-minded fan. I said, big Carl Pickens fan. But like Ashley Ambrose was the first guy I remember that was on the defensive side of the ball that I'm like, good Lord, he is just a heck of an athlete. But I mean, he did have good seasons for the 3 years he was with the Bengals. I said 54 tackles in '96, 59 in '97. Fell off a little bit in 1998. He only played 15 games and had 40 tackles, but he still had a few interceptions. So you can't fault him too much. And like I said, he was just a blue-collar guy. He was never, the huge superstar, wasn't super flashy, but he got the job done, and he made great plays. And those are the kind of Bengals players that we just always want to hold on to. They do great things for the city. They do great things for the team, and they're not causing any negative ramifications, no bad media, nothing to worry about. So, Ashley Ambrose, our hats off to you. You're the first Bengals reflection on the 50th season for us here on Talking Bengals, so congratulations on that honor. And we're going to pick somebody else next week. But speaking of Bengals history, it's funny if you go onto the Bengals.com today, you'll see that on this date in 2015, the Bengals signed Terrell Pryor, only to get rid of Terrell Pryor and let him walk to Cleveland. Nick?
I mean, obviously one of the dumbest decisions that the Bengals made recently. I mean, I say one of because there's plenty of other dumb decisions the Bengals have made. But, I mean, he ends up being an actual good receiver. I mean, big guy, can run, can catch, can make plays. I mean, look at our receiving core right now. If we were to have Terrell Pryor on our team right now, I mean, you have AJ Green, John Ross, and I mean, you're looking at guys that can compete and actually play in depth. To have Terrell Pryor here, not only will we have another good set of hands, but we'd also have size as well. So, I mean, I don't know. The Bengals have a tendency to let good players go before they even get a chance.
Yeah, I mean, in 2016, he wasn't that impressive. So he played in 3 games, had 1 catch, didn't look that great. But 2006 having an outstanding season. It was just, I mean, one of those. He had over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he's just a big guy. He's 6'4", runs a 4.38 40. And so he'd have been just such a powerhouse to have next to A.J. Green. I mean, he's putting up those kind of numbers in Cleveland with a terrible quarterback, no supporting cast whatsoever. Could you imagine him being a number 2, number 3 receiver, as big as he is, as fast as he is? And like I said, I'm hoping John Ross has a great career, but if you had Terrell Pryor running as fast as he does, he's not quite as fast as Ross, but what did you need to draft John Ross for? You'd have a good receiving core. So, I don't know. I think it would have been a good decision to keep him. The Bengals seemed like they'd wanted him to be a quarterback, which he was not going to be a quarterback. I don't know if they just didn't want to waste time trying to develop him, because in 2016 you still had a Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu, so maybe he just didn't fit in with that group. But now it's like, man, could have had a guy that had a 1,000-yard season in Cleveland. So it's just, I think it's unfortunate the Bengals let him slip away, but hopefully, at least he's not with the Browns anymore, so we're not going to have to see him. He's with the Redskins. So if we do see him, it'll be on a less frequent basis. But that's going to lead us into Roasted or Boasted for the week. So Roasted or Boasted topic. I don't know if anybody else heard about this, but almost as soon as John Ross got into Cincinnati, Billy Hamilton challenged him to a 40-yard dash. So that got me to thinking, even though Marvin Lewis killed the idea very quickly, saying that neither player should risk their health and, their careers over just a silly, competition like that. But that got me thinking, who really would be faster? I know I got my opinion, but Nick, here's the question for you. John Ross would beat Billy Hamilton in a 40-yard dash. Roasted or boasted?
I say I'm going to roast it. I'm going to roast it. I think Billy Hamilton, just straight out of the gate is just fast. I'm gonna root for Billy on that, but maybe an idea. If they are going to hold a 40-yard dash and race and stuff like that, maybe they could do some form of like a fundraiser for it. Maybe for the area-wide Special Olympics, or maybe a cancer foundation. I don't know, some form of charity, maybe for the St. Jude's Children's Hospital, or maybe Children's Hospital. I think that maybe you could do a fundraiser for that and build that up and hype it up and probably raise a good deal amount of money for it. Just saying, I think it'd be a good way to bring the city in and get everybody involved.
I like that idea. I think that'd be awesome, man. That'd be a really good event. You'd probably get a lot of people to come out to something like that. They could do autographs afterwards. So that'd be a really good way to raise money. So maybe if the Reds front office, Bengals front office are listening, which I doubt they are, but if they are, that's a great idea, and all the credit goes to you, Nick. But I really want to say boasted to play devil's advocate, but man, I'm a Billy Hamilton fan, especially of his speed. And I've just not seen John Ross run enough live to just try to back him up. So, Billy the other night against the who were they playing the other night? Giants. They held him up on what could have been an in-the-park home run on what would have been a double for most other players. So he's just unbelievable blazing speed. And, John Ross on his 4.22 40 is great, but baseball players don't really do 40s, so I'm not really sure Billy Hamilton would run a 40 in. So I'm just going to have to call that one a draw at this point, because I would like to actually really see the race. That's what I'd really like to see. So I'm going to go with Nick here. I'm going to kind of roast and kind of boast. That was your move early in the show. So moving on to our next topic, Darqueze Dennard will have a better season than William Jackson III. I'm going to go ahead and lead off with this one. I think absolutely not. I think William Jackson III is going to come off of his year on IR and just absolutely be on fire. He is going to end up taking over Pac-Man's job. Why do I think that? Because why not? You might as well just say I'm going to boast that or roast that one and boast William Jackson III actually making his way into the starting lineup as the other cornerback opposite of Drake or Patrick, just because that's what I want to see. So why not just jump on my, what I'd like to see for once, instead of trying to back it up with facts? Because when it comes to Bengals secondary, it doesn't matter if you have facts or not. You might as well just pick something and go with it.
I say William Jackson III is going to have a better season. The way the question's worded, Dennard will have a better season then Jackson the third, I would roast it. Roast it, roast it, roast it. Most of all, I don't like Denard, but at the second time, on a second note, you have William Jackson the third, who, I mean, he has a chance. He has a chance to step up and prove himself and to beat Denard out. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that hard for him just because I think he's athletic. But I think that, I think Jackson the third has a good chance.
Well, that's going to lead us into our final roaster boasted of the evening, and we're going to kind of go back to what we used to do, try to pick a fun topic, and summer's right around the corner, and you're going to bring up that age-old question: which is a better vacation, going to the beach or going to the lake? Nick?
Lake, 100% a lake. I mean, you go fishing, you can go hiking, you can go swimming in the lake, you can drink on the boat, you can, I don't know, you can do whatever in the heck you want to on a lake. You go to a beach and you got to worry about kids running around and yelling and screaming at their mom and dad, and oh man, it's hard enough having your own kids screaming at you. You don't need 1,000 other kids screaming and yelling around you. I mean, the lake all day long, because when I associate a vacation on a lake, I associate me, my family there at the lake, nobody else. I mean, I associate not having to worry about everybody else's people and problems. I'm out in the middle of nowhere with me and my family out on a lake, fishing, doing whatever we want to do. So lake all day long, every day, and twice on Sunday.
Spoken like a true redneck. Lake, are you crazy? The beach beats the lake every day. 4 times.
Sharks, stingrays, man wars, jellyfish. Everything wants to kill you in that water at the beach.
Well, at least the water's not trying to kill you, because a lot of lake water is poisoned nowadays with all the crap they put in the rivers and whatnot. But anyways, so the beach is much better. You got fun in the sun. You got sand. You got Jimmy Buffett music playing in the background. Beach. You can't beat the beach. People don't write that many songs about lakes. There's a few, but there's a million songs about beaches, because beaches is where it's at. Give me the beach. Give me a Sea-Doo. I'll go out there and do some jet skiing. You get a boat. You can go fishing in the ocean. You can actually eat the fish without having to clean them or worry about mercury poisoning most of the time. So beach all day long. I love the beach. I'd put a house on the beach right now and never leave. So yeah, so you're thinking lake. Just crazy. Beach. Absolutely the beach. So final thoughts, Nick. I'm going to let you lead off.
My final thoughts have to do with the Reds. How about them sweeping the darn Giants? Finally, a sweep. A sweep. A sweep. Go Cincinnati, right? I mean, geez, oh Pete. Thank God. And what about the old guy showing everybody how to pitch? He didn't even throw over 90 the whole night long. And he still goes out there and throws a freaking 9-inning shutout. I think he allowed 3 hits, 3, maybe 4 hits. A shutout, 9-inning shutout. It's the old guy that has to show him how it's done. I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So cautious optimism for the Reds is turning into just pure optimism. I'm sorry. I'm going all in on this one. Love it. Go Cincinnati.
I like it. The Reds are doing well, so I can't hate on the Reds, but since you've already touched on them, I'll pick the other Cincinnati team to talk about, since that's what we're called, Talkin Bengals. Not picking on you too much, but I think my cautious optimism on the Bengals is actually starting to switch to optimism. I really, I like what I'm seeing thus far from the draft picks, and, we're getting closer and closer and closer to training camp. We still got about a month, 2 months, I guess, before we get there, but it's starting to look better and better. So I can't really complain too much. So cautious optimism becoming just regular optimism on the Bengals. So that's going to do it for us this week. Check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Buzzsprout. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. That's it for us this week. Hooday!
Hooday!